Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Sideline Sports Show. Today is Friday, June 5th, and it will be the last episode of the podcast. The purpose of this was for my senior project at the end of my senior year of high school, and it's coming to an end, and so this will be the last episode. I really appreciate everybody who actually watched these. But today, it's just going to be normal sports notes. It's actually going to be predominantly NBA related because they saw some very, very huge news break late yesterday, which was the Board of Governors approved the NBA's return to play policy. Now, real quick, before I get into a couple other notes and, how this whole thing is going to work, I'm just going to go over kind of what the rules are going to be. So the teams that are making the playoffs are currently the 8 playoff teams as of now. So from the Eastern Conference, that's the Bucks, the Raptors, the Celtics, the Heat, the Pacers, the 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, Orlando Magic, and the 9 seed Washington Wizards. Those are the teams from the East that made it. Only one, we saw the plan was for 22 teams, and so I thought it would split evenly from both conferences, but because the West was more highly contested, more teams from the West qualified for the playoffs. So Lakers, Clippers, and so these are the teams that made it from the Western Conference. Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Jazz, Thunder, Rockets, Mavericks, Grizzlies, Trailblazers, Pelicans, Sacramento Kings, San Antonio Spurs, and the Phoenix Suns. They were all within 2.5 games of each other. And then you had the Timberwolves and the Warriors, who were 30 games out when the season ended. Or when the season was shut down. So the way the playoff format's going to work is every team will play 8 games for seeding, and the 7 teams from each conference that have the best record, it's combined between the regular season and the seeding games. So the objective of that, I'm assuming, is that you didn't want teams that just because they were the 8 seed and they played all right down the stretch, like the Memphis Grizzlies, who actually played 32 and 33 basketball. They were under 500. You want to reward them somewhat for playing well during the regular season, but at the same point, you don't want to penalize other teams that were kind of on the cusp. So you get like a team like the Pelicans, who they play their 8 seeding games, and they have a better record than the Grizzlies, then they would jump in front of them. And so the top 7 seeds from each conference will make the playoffs. And now there's a couple, and then for the 8 seed, there's a kind of couple of scenarios. So if the 8 seed is greater than 4 games above the number 9 seed, so if the 8 seed is, we'll go 40 and 33, and the other team is 36 and 37, the team that's the 8 seed would automatically make the playoffs. There would be no nothing, no playing game, no nothing. If the number 8 seed is fewer than 4 games above the 9th seed's record, they will play a tournament or a play-in tournament of some sorts. The higher seed, so the team that has the 8th seed, only has to win 1 game, but the 9 seed team has to win 2 games in a row. So it's at most a 2-game series. If the 8th seed wins first, series is done. If the 9th seed wins the first game, they have to win the second game for the tournament to go over, or for them to make the playoffs. After that, it'll just be the traditional playoff format, like those 8 teams would play. There would be the 4 rounds, the quarterfinals, semifinals, final of each conference, and then the NBA finals. So kind of got the idea, and I think it's fantastic to hear. Probably this was the first major sporting, one of the 4 major sports in North America, the first one that got approved. We know it's going to happen. They're going to play down in Disney. Every team is going to be down in Disney playing each other. No fans, obviously. It's going to be a lot of testing to ensure that players are not sick or they're not trying to expose other people. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic that we finally got a sport that is going to be that has a clear cut, this is how it's going to work. We know it's going to happen. There's no getting approval. Approval's already been made. I see the article that I was reading. I think it said that they just have to do a little bit of tweaking just to they have to just shore some things up, make sure everything is solid and works, and then they'll be off and running. So that was really, really, really good news. Really glad to hear that. On the other side of things, there were some issues with coaches. So Adam Silver was on Inside the NBA and was talking with Charles Barkley and was saying how coaches that, the players are younger, so they're not necessarily as vulnerable, but there are older coaches with underlying health conditions. And Adam Silver says certain coaches may have to be social distanced away and that they can't be on the bench, on the sidelines, coaching during the game. They can be drawing up plays in the locker room, things like that, or they could be video conferenced in a timeout or things like that, I think is what he said, but they probably won't be able to sit on the bench. A lot of coaches don't like that. Alvin Gentry came out and said it's unfair. He's older, but he wants to coach his team. He's gotten them to where they are now, and he wants to coach his team, and it's not fair to him. But at the same point, I do understand that Adam Silver has a job to do to protect the people that are the most vulnerable, which are the older gentlemen like Mr. Gentry. So I think that's going to probably be the biggest area of concern. And secondly, the biggest question was what happens if a player tests positive? Charles Barkley asked, I said, if a player tests positive, does that mean that they will have to, that team will just have to all be quarantined and then they'll just have to forfeit the series? And Adam Silver said no, because all the players will be in the same location and they'll be testing every day. They could trace contact and kind of isolate that player. So I guess the objective is to test the player before they make any contact with their team. If they have the elevated fever, they're going to get him the hell away so that he can't affect the rest of the team. Then you run into the issue, what if somebody contracts, it's asymptomatic, they don't have any symptoms, so then they transmit it. It's not perfect. I don't. Anybody who says that they have a perfect plan to resume sports, where they can ensure that nobody has the virus, that everybody, I don't believe that. I don't believe anything they would tell me, because it's just not possible at this point. There's no way to fully isolate players, and so you can ensure they don't get the virus. But if somebody got it, he said they would isolate the player. That player obviously won't be able to play, be out for 2 weeks. Unfortunately, it could, if it's one of their star players, if say for the Blazers, if Damian Lillard gets it, and they might be in some trouble. Or for the Mavericks, you get Luka. Luka gets it, and he's out. That could mean it could be a big issue for the team. But overall, I think it's as solid as a plan as they can make it. It's not. They can't. Nothing's foolproof is what I'm trying to say. Is that no commissioner, no governor, no World Health official has any foolproof plan that can ensure that you will not get sick. And so it is what it is. So players that have the virus or players who contract it, they're going to contract it. The players are putting themselves at risk. There's no question about it. Which is why when you hear Major League Baseball, the players, a lot of their arguments is that they're putting their safety on the line. So not only are now you want them to put their safety on the line and pay them nothing. I mean, granted, I don't agree with their whole demanding money and things like that. I think it's a slippery slope that they're walking. They're losing the trust of the fans. They're inflicting a lot of unnecessary blame towards players. And I think it was interesting. Trevor Bauer, I mentioned him yesterday, how he said he was 95 to 100% sure that there was a season coming along. He also said that he doesn't understand why Major League Baseball is leaking a lot of these conversations. The players aren't leaking them. Major League Baseball are. And so the players, when Major League Baseball comes out and says something that makes the players look bad, the players are going to have to be vocal about it because they don't want to look bad. And he used the analogy, he said, the fans are the consumer, the Major League Baseball is a big company, and the players are the product. You don't want then he made it seem as like you want the consumer to hate the product. The company is trying to get the consumer to hate the product, decide with the company, which doesn't make any sense at all. And that makes sense, and I understand that. I agree. That whole issue with Major League Baseball, should be handled in-house, behind closed doors. Shouldn't get leaked. The public should not know every single little detail that goes on in Major League Baseball. We didn't know a lot about the NBA until it came out about the playoff format, and that was within the last week before. So that means that players and the players, the NBA, the NBPA, the NBA, granted, were they more so on the same page because it was different because they got to play, I'll say 95% of their season? Probably. But it was all, I guarantee you there were negotiations back and forth that everything happened in-house. It didn't get leaked out to the public. It didn't, and so I wish Major League Baseball did it that way. I wish that they didn't try and pit the fans against the players, against the owners, and now you have this entire three-person standoff. So Jeff Passan tweeted at 8 o'clock this morning, so an hour ago, MLB and the MLBPA remain at a stalemate, keeping baseball from returning. At its core, it is a fight over pennies on the dollar. It is my opinion, it is unnecessary and it has solutions. At ESPN, I look at baseball's problems. Blah, blah, blah. So one thing I wanted to mention is that the Major League Baseball Players Association put forward their 114-game proposal, and Major League Baseball is saying nope, that they're going 50. And so right now, it's Major League Baseball is not even putting a counteroffer up against the Players Association. They're not even. They're saying that's what they're sticking with. They're sticking with their 50-game season. They're not countering. So the more and more this goes on, the less likely I think there's going to be a season. They needed to get a deal done this week if they wanted to still have their 3 weeks of spring training. Same thing, you're allotted travel time so you can get back to your city because I'm assuming everybody's going to do spring training at their complexes in Florida or Arizona. And so they'll have to do their 3 weeks of spring training down there, and then they have to go back to their ballparks. They have to probably get things set up. They have to ship all their equipment back up to, where they're at. It's not good. As a baseball fan, it's devastating. I'm not going to say there isn't going to be a deal reached because I'm going to still leave some optimism out there, but it's gray. There doesn't seem to be any negotiation anymore. It's now it's become a contest. It's become a pissing contest more or less. Players don't want to give in, and neither does Major League Baseball. And I'm not trying to say that one over the other's in the right and the other's in the wrong. I'm not. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I'm going to go as far as say I don't see either of them being in the wrong. I just see them having their priorities maybe in different places. And that's okay. But the fact that there's no negotiation, there's no wiggle room is what is really, really, I don't want to say bothersome, but it is. The fact that neither group is willing to make changes. You get, where are they? Wait. Right there. Sorry. I'm looking on the camera. Right there. There's a divide. There's a divide between players and the owners. And it's a divide I don't necessarily know that is going to be filled. The fact that you already have owners that are okay with a shutdown, which means they don't have to pay anybody, that's alarming. And then you see things like the NBA here. The NBA, they already have all their plan. They have everything kind of lined up, and they're saying, okay, July 31st, we're running with this, barring some catastrophe or some circumstances that makes things difficult. I don't see, if things get better, I don't see them, if for some reason the virus just disappears out of thin air, I don't see them altering their playoff format because they already have it approved. Teams are already starting to get ready. But so July 31st, boom, we're going. NBA's back. Yeah, let's go. Okay, I'm going to say 2 months out, but still people are getting excited. Basketball's back. There's no, baseball, when we got really excited when we heard that the owners and everything were starting to try and work together, we're like, yeah, baseball's coming back. And then we see all these problems. And now it's like, wow, baseball's probably not going to come back. There's no point in having a season because baseball is a long season, there's no reason to shut it down. There's no reason to substantially shorten a season. If you substantially shorten a season, it's not the same. Basketball 82, football 16. Okay, but baseball it's a long season, which if you were just to put everybody in for a short season, would it be interesting? Probably, because then you'd see teams that get off to hot starts but fall apart in the second half of the season. But at that point, that a 40 or 50 game season, it's no longer the best team doesn't always win necessarily. Now, granted, does that always happen in baseball? No. The worst team in baseball is going to win 40-something games a year. But it's whatever team gets hot at the right time. For God's sake and reason, for sake and reason, the Detroit Tigers get hot and play great baseball over the last 20 games, and they finish above 500, and you get a team like the Twins who are supposed to walk away with their division, and they stumble, and now all of a sudden you have the Detroit Tigers winning the division. Are you serious? People don't want to watch that. I hate to break it to Tigers fans. Would that be fun? Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, you want to see the best players, because now all of a sudden you see the Tigers in the playoffs and they play the New York Yankees. They're going to get mutilated. They are going to get systematically destroyed. It's not fun after a certain point. Yeah, we all are for the underdog story, but after a certain point, it's like, well, they're not supposed to win. They just took a spot away. Now you could watch good baseball where you get two teams in a dogfight, fighting each other, for trying to win 3 games or something like that. But instead you get the Detroit Tigers, or you get the Baltimore Orioles go on a run. The Miami Marlins. Come on. If you're sitting here and you want to watch that, go watch independent or minor league baseball, because that's what that is. Minor league and independent league baseball are teams that just go out there and grind, not Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball, the best team is supposed to win. In news that isn't dreary, I guess, the Major League Baseball draft is coming up in 5 days. 6, it's 2 days, June 10th and I believe draft is June 11th. Why am I guessing? Let's just Google it. MLB draft. Date 2020. July 2020, thanks. July 10th to 11th. Yeah, that's all it is. It's July 10th to the 11th. It's a 5-round draft, so it's probably going to be the first 2 rounds and then the last 3 rounds on the next day. And teams are allotted can sign any player that goes undrafted can be signed by a team for a signing bonus of no more than $200,000 per player. So you're going to see a lot of players in high school that would have gone in the 6th, 7th round, maybe get a $500,000, $800,000 signing bonus, get offered $200,000 because that's all they can get, and they're going to go to college, or they're going to go back for their 4th year of college. Or you get the guy that was supposed to go, that was projected to go in like the 20th round, and he takes his money and runs. But if you think about it, because of the minor league teams that are getting completely cut apart, you need players. And it's difficult for Major League Baseball only having $200,000 because teams need to revamp their farm systems because they're losing so much. Because they're cutting players every day. People are going without jobs. I mean, yeah, we like to say baseball athletes are on top of the world, but these minor league players, they are living literally paycheck to paycheck. They are making $10,000-ish a year. $400 a week. So, okay, man, what are you making? $20,000 a year? Actually, no, because they only play 5-ish months out of the year. So, I don't know. It sucks to be a minor league baseball player now. Your dreams are literally getting ripped away from you as you sit there and you watch. So, it's rough. I totally get it. I totally get how rough it is. And you feel bad because these kids they never get a shot. Some of them never got a shot to play Major League Baseball, and I hate to say it, but they're probably not ever going to play baseball ever again professionally. They just can't. Because teams are going to be financial, especially if there's no season. Teams will probably be financially all right because they don't have to pay anybody if there's no season. But it's really, really, it's tough. It is a tough it's a tough time to be a baseball fan, and it's a great time to be an NBA basketball fan. And the NFL, I like, they're just kind of waiting and sitting back and waiting. There's no joint practices, we found out, but they're kind of waiting back about, there can be training camps. Are there, how is everything gonna go down? So I think it's pretty cool that they're just kind of sitting back and they're just going to wait how the whole thing plays out. Granted, they do have more time because they play in the fall. Assuming that there isn't a second wave, they should be able to take care of their season on time. But back to basketball real quick. I saw something that said the season start July 31st. The draft lottery would be August 25th. The 2020 draft would be October 15th. The finals would end October 12th. And the 2020-2021 NBA regular season would likely start December 1st, 2020. Now, I don't know if that season is going to be cut short based on the fact that they're missed probably a month of the season. Or they're just going to extend it 1 month and then maybe get a month less in terms of an off season next year. I don't know, because if you think about it, the whole schedule of the end of sports, for now at least, especially for the NBA, because it's had to take a hiatus, the scheduling of the NBA, it's going to be difficult to, unless what I do actually potentially see happening is if for the next couple of years, if the off season ends, they get a week less in terms of the off season every time, until they're able to start, until they've cut back enough time that they're able to start back at kind of the regular time that the season would start. That's probably the best plan that I can think of right now off the top of my head, is that next off season, all right, it's whatever, it's normal, and then after next year, the December 1st or whatever, say they get 2-3 months in terms of an off season, they cut it by a week and a half. And the next season, same thing. They cut it by a week until you're back to playing the normal NBA schedule. And if Major League Baseball is like that, I don't know. I don't know how they'll do it because the Players Association had a plan where the season would probably end in December, and Major League Baseball wants the season to end as expected so that it doesn't affect the future seasons. It's going to affect the future season no matter what they do, but that's I guess what their plan is going to be. But that's just what we'll just have to see. So like I said at the top of the show, this will be the last episode. This was, like I said, this was a project for my senior. It was my senior end of the year project. I really enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of fun. I hope everybody who actually watched it, other than me, as I'm editing this right now, enjoyed it. Hoping it's not like a complete and total idiot. But yeah, no, so thank you guys for watching. You guys have a really good day.